to do it.
I was at 812.
You're fine.
I swear it said 810 when I walked into it.
Well, yeah, Mark was like, you're in the wrong place. I said, no, I'm not.
No.
All right, so like I said, I'm Daisha Gaines. I am the Director of Organizational Development here. That's my staff position, my full-time job. I teach Marketing 120, typically online. Now I'm teaching it as a hybrid. And I've also taught ACA 122. But what I'm going to do today is showcase some of our professional development resources, which you all have as adjuncts, and just to give you some tools so that if you are struggling with maybe you need some training on something, Excel, Google Drive, a new technology to add to your classrooms, you'll know where to go to get it. Because like many of you, we don't have a lot of time in the day, and I want to give you something where you'll have 24/7 access, where you don't have to be in one location. Luckily, we have a new resource called Who Knew It? Who Knew It, which was formerly Atomic Learning. How do you do this and pass it out? This is a e-learning platform that was developed by community college educators with over 17 years of experience for community college educators. It is a outcome-based model. So not only do you learn it, but you learn it, you apply it, and then you take an evaluation at the end. Once you take that evaluation, you get a certificate of completion. So if you want to showcase to your department chair that you're doing some type of professional development throughout the year, this is one way of getting those hours. So I'm going to show you how to get there, because we all know we don't know how to use it, we're not going to use it, right? So if you are on our home page, and you click the login button, we all know that we now have this single sign-on portal. Are you all familiar with that? Yes. So now no longer do you need 15 username and passwords. You have one campus login credential. You will use that here, and that's all you need to get into Who Knew It. The handout that I just gave you is this information, because we know when you leave here today, you're probably not going to remember everything I told you or what you have heard in all of these sessions, but at least you'll know where to find it. So I'm going to log in and show you briefly what Who Knew It looks like. Right here on the right is Who Knew It. And it's as simple as that. You're now in the site. You can search up at the top. If you type in anything in the search menu, it's going to auto-populate anything related to that topic. So say you want some Excel training. You type in Excel, and it auto-populates anything that it thinks you may want. Once you find the topic that you want, you simply click, and you will be brought into the video. These videos are fully accessible. What does that mean? There is a transcription file at the bottom of every one of these videos. You can transcribe them in, I think, 11 different languages, including Arabic. If anyone speaks Arabic, I don't know, Spanish. You have that option. Also, you can search by pathways. What is a pathway? Think of a pathway like a track. A pathway is several courses that make up that track. For instance, information literacy. There's 3 courses that make up this track. And you can receive credit or a certificate of completion if you complete 11 hours worth of training. Got it? To go back, you simply click Who Knew It or the home button. You can explore by topics. You can explore by newly added features. So what this is Who Knew It has a large user population. They're constantly updating their resources based off of what their users tell them that we need, and they're always adding new things. So click in there at least once a month, because you're probably going to see something new. And then the last is the feature. So this is what's being clicked on the most based off of their user group. And responsible decision making is what's being clicked on the most right now. Any questions about Who Knew It? I don't expect you to remember it all. That's why you have a handout, okay? All right. The other thing I'm going to show you is our professional development. Hey, Susan. Hi.
Is this anyone's? I just want to make sure before we put it
I think there was someone that was looking for something in the restroom. So
Thank you. I would.
All right. I'm going to pass this. Will you pass that up for me? These are our live sessions. So I also do professional development calendar each semester. And I know you're not going to make it to the sessions because you're probably working. That's fine. I record these sessions. Anything that's done in this room, which is the smart room, I live stream to Harnett and to Pittsboro, but I also record and stick it up on my Blackboard site. You as adjuncts have access to this. So where Who Knew It is a lot of tips and tricks. You may want information that's only within the CCCC population, so from our instructors or from our staff members. So I'm going to show you how to get there. Back at the single sign-on portal, you're going to click on Blackboard. When you're there, you're going to look under My Organizations and click Professional Development. On the Professional Development site, you're going to click Recorded Sessions. I started with the college in 2013. This is separated by folder, by semester, all the way until when I started in 2013. You have a lot of resources here. Everything from Excel tips and tricks. Maybe you don't want to know everything about Excel, but you want to know the top things that CCCC people use it for. That's what this will tell you. We have things about, learning outcomes and goals, notifications. The library has done some sessions, FMLA, templates, QEP, Adobe Connect, Camtasia, students in crisis, things that we've done as a college by our faculty and staff. These are here for you. There's only one other thing I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to hand it over to Samantha. This right here, I did not realize until just last week when we did new faculty orientation, there was a lot of adjuncts that come from industry, like myself, who had never been in a classroom. They did not know that we had these resources. Creating a syllabus is not common to everybody. What to do the first day of class, getting to know your students. This is something that was created by NCNet. What they do is they go out and they find instructors that are doing something well. They pay them grant money to be able to fund these projects, but then they have to share it with all 58 community colleges. This is from the best of the best. Sand Hills Community College is part of this. There's Forsyth Tech, you name it. But they come up with the best resources they could find. And it's there at your fingertips. It's free. If you need it, use it. All right, I'm almost out of breath. Any questions for me before I hand it over to Samantha?
Can I get one of the Who Knew It handouts?
You can get whatever you want. You just tell me what it is. I hope I brought my bookmarks. I did, because if you're like me, you're probably going to lose some of this stuff, but maybe you'll keep a bookmark. All right.
Okay, so I'm Samantha O'Connor. I am the Public Services Librarian, but I'm actually going to be talking to you not about the library, but about a campus resource that we are in the process of rolling out. So it's still kind of in a beta version, but hopefully over the course of this year, we can beef it up and have it really ready to help you as adjuncts especially. And that is My Employee Pathway. I know you've all heard about the QEP, you're all familiar with MAP. So we like to think of My Employee Pathway as MEP. It's a map for me. Oh. Anyway, basically what this is it's a quick reference guide to campus questions. So if you have a question about something related to campus activities, if you have a question coming from a student that you don't know how to answer, if you don't know the best person to ask your question to, this is a resource for you. Basically, you can come in here and you can come down here to questions for faculty and staff. And we have our top 10 questions asked by faculty and staff. Number 1 is, what is the QEP? We also have questions about how to fill out leave and travel request forms. We have questions about which DRE and DMA courses for students to take. We have questions about how to request copies. If you've never requested copies before and you don't know how to do it, you can look it up on here. And basically, when you click on one, let's take a look at how do I move or copy a test to Blackboard. This is a really common question. This is going to walk you through the process of how to do it. And at the end, if you still have questions, who do I contact to learn more? Most of these will give you a name. The distance ed department said contact any of us, we don't care. So we just put up the department there. You all probably know distance ed is the person to talk, or the department to talk to for Blackboard questions. But for a lot of these, it's going to be a department that you didn't think was connected to the question that you have. Or it's going to be a specific person, because when you just call the department, you're not getting the answer you want. So it'll lead you to a specific person. Additionally, instead of just those top 10 questions, we also have, if your answer's not in there, we have the frequently asked questions. So every question that we have up here right now for faculty and staff is in here. It's divided out into different sections. So we've got stuff about college growth and development. We've got stuff about how to do online instruction, how to do seated instruction, stuff about advising, stuff about the campus community. So if you were to click on one of these, you're going to get all the information, the answer to your question, and it's going to tell you that the best person for this question, which is about placing reserve materials on hold for your students in the library, it's going to send you to talk to Peggy Cotton specifically. So you're going to know that that's who you need to ask for when you call the library. If you go through this resource and you don't see your question on here, there is a form, and that form comes directly to me, Daisha, Amber Thomas, who will be in a different session today, and then also John Ainsworth. And we can, from there, we can answer your question. Get back to the form so I can show it to you. And then the question will go into this resource so that future people with the same question can ask it. We also have a section for questions for students. This is not a resource for students. Students can't go into this to ask their questions. But what they can do is if they come to you, because students are more likely to go to their instructor with a question than somebody in a different department, they can come to you with a question even if you don't normally know the answer. You can look it up in here and you can get them an answer quickly or get them in touch with the person that can answer their question. Rather than spending 20 minutes going on a scavenger hunt through the library's or through the college's website, trying to find the best person to connect them with or trying to find the answer, or just sending them off to a different department, washing your hands of it, you can go into here to get them the answers that they need. So questions for students are things like, how many credit hours can I take in the summer and how many can I take in the fall? How do I find my advisor? How do I get a tutor? So you can go into here, you can click on the question, and you can get an answer to it. So it's a pretty simple resource to use. It is still in its development phase, so not everything is on here. So we really want to hear from you. What are the questions that you have? Questions that students ask you that you can't answer? Things that you want other people to know about what you do, because you find out that the wrong information is being shared all across campus. Share that information with us. If you've got one that you think of right now, I have some forms you can take and you can go ahead and fill it out and give it back to me. You can also just go into the MEP and you can fill out the question form on here. And that's going to come to us and we can take that information and put it in here and get back to you with those answers. I did that really fast because I was trying to get through, but I think we still have a little bit of time left. Does anybody want to see anything more or have any questions about the resource? So basically you just get to it by going to cccc.edu/MEP. You can also get to it.
Samantha, do you have any more of these? Okay, we're out. I'm sorry. I got one more left. Who wants it? It's a bidding war. Here, okay. Anybody want it?
I'm good, I'll go on.
You can also get to it through the intranet. So if you don't remember that it's /MP, there is a link directly to it in here.
Are you getting out the bookmarks?
Yes.
I got another bookmark, and she's from the library, so it kind of makes sense. Mine really doesn't, but that's the way I learned, so I thought I would hand out some too.
So if you go on the intranet, on the left-hand side, underneath the menus, is an icon here for My Employee Pathway. That'll take you into it as well. So you can get to it very quickly that way. If you have any questions about it, or you want to see something on there, or you go in and you see that some information is incorrect, let me know and I'll get it fixed as soon as I can. And I hope this ends up being a useful resource.
All right, so we have to travel to our next room, but the good news is y'all get to stay. So get cozy and comfy as the next presenters come in. But You know, it's going to be hard to follow this wonderful act. But I hope that you guys are getting something out of this adjunct night. And I will be sending an evaluation probably tomorrow, maybe Friday. Please fill that out because my department is the one that puts this on every year, and we do take into consideration what you liked, what you didn't like, improvements that we can make year after year.
And if anybody fills out that form tonight and wants to hand it in, when Amber comes through, just give it to her and she'll take it.
Did you log me off?
I did. I didn't. I just.
Please log me off. So we are going to A12. Where I wasn't there. See y'all later. Yes.
How on earth was that ever?
She had trouble finding tutors and mentors with
No,
her.
no. Like I teach listening students every semester. And when they're in trouble, I never know who to ask about. Central Carolina. In other words, do they have an advisor?
Did y'all have a question?
Well, they seem to be in every class I teach.
That could be I was gonna say Nick Testa will know who it is.
Nick Tesla? T-E-S-T-A-S.
Yeah, so he will know exactly what.
That's what I mean. Okay, thanks a lot. Yes. Yeah, I guess you're right. Okay, thanks. I gotta, like, no, they won't ever make a response to me.
Answer that question. So I have to ask all the life. I opened everything.
She's a nurse and everything, but it's like, oh. Oh, I see. I would like to do
Sorry to keep away.
No, you're right.
Thank you for grabbing those.
Yeah, I have that too. We went way over our 10.
Well,
We don't want it.
I'll let you start talking while I
All right, I'm gonna start, if you will just grab one of each, one small one, one large piece of paper. Actually, I'll just start them. Just grab one of each, take one. All right. All right, so we're gonna go over Blackboard tips and tricks. So we have 10 that we are going to share with you. And I'm Amber Thomas, I teach in the business department. I'm Summerlin Webb, I teach in English and Humanities. And we together try to figure out how to work smarter, not harder, across disciplines. And so we are here to tell you what has helped us tremendously. Summerlin started, kind of like got me on this bandwagon with a few of her tips and tricks. I'm like, we really should, share these with people because I feel like it would make people's lives easier. So I started weekly videos as well. And you're probably like, oh, I don't want to make a video. They're 3 to 5 minutes. I do not go back and view them. I refuse to. I do not want to see them. I do not script them. It is very candid. It can range in what I say. The goal of the videos is to create some type of rapport with your students and give them that face-to-face interaction that they might not have in the classroom. It's also, I would say, it just helps the vibe of the class. And it might be that I talk to them about a topic that we're covering, or it might just be, hey, this is July 4th week. What do you and your family have planned this week? Or, what are you doing? Just to give them some of that kind of interaction that they would miss in an online class or in the Blackboard format.
Yeah, and my students in my online classes really have given me a lot of feedback. They feel like we're interacting and they really enjoy it. Don't script it. Don't feel like you've got to have a fancy background. Talk to them like you would if you were in the classroom in front of them. It works a lot more seamlessly that way. Another thing that we both use and love are these weekly or bi-module checkpoint assignments. I picked this tip up from David Hartman, who's lead instructor in the humanities department. Go back to the top and click on week 1. It's cool. So the thing that I love about checkpoints is that they cut down on your email by about 75%. The beauty of the checkpoint assignment, mine is literally this simple. I ask them how the course is going and for them to let me know any questions or concerns they have. And a lot of times they'll say, nope, everything's good. If everything's not good, this is when they'll tell you. I used to think, oh, well, if my students have a problem, they'll email me. That doesn't happen a lot of times. A lot of times students will kind of struggle in silence, but if they feel prodded, then they will talk to you. It does need to be a graded assignment, so they'll actually complete it, and students like having the quick, easy grade. And you do have to check them promptly. That is the one little catch. So I do try to make that the first thing I grade. And another reason checkpoints are great, so I teach English and humanities. I may have 75 essays come in at one time, and it's going to take me a week or two to get those graded. I can grade a set of checkpoints in under 10 minutes. So my students are getting frequent feedback from me. So I'm still out there. Even if they're not getting their assignments back immediately, they know that I'm there and I'm paying attention.
And I can,
I've done a variant of that. It was shared with me with another CCC faculty, and it's you ask them to, particularly if you're hybrid or seated, you ask them to check in with you at the end of the class real quickly, and that too is just a check mark that with a list of names that they checked in with you, and then it's really easy to give them a grade for that.
Yeah, and I can say with 100% certainty that this takes me no time to grade. I mean, you go through them so quickly. You're going to probably have 2 out of your whole class that have a question. The others are, sometimes they'll be like, they'll tell you something funny. Like, who knows? I had one student that started telling me jokes every week. So, because they're like, are you really reading them? And I, would just respond to their joke, and then they're like, oh yeah, that's a real person. So it's like they were testing me just to see if I was actually reading them. Collaborate office hours. How many of you are familiar with Blackboard Collaborate? It is like the Blackboard version of GoToMeetings or Skype. It is in your Blackboard course right now. If you go to the control panel, let's see.
Oh yeah, I forgot to do that one over there.
Yeah, course tools. It's going to be the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. This is literally a place where you can meet your students. You can set this as a button or a tab on the left-hand side. You can just say, if they have a question, you can say, hey, click the collaborate button, I'll meet you there in 5 minutes, or whatever. You can choose whether or not to have your camera on. You can call in if you don't have a mic, but I have virtual office hours this way. That has helped with students that are online or that work non-traditional schedules and just cannot come to a 1 to 3 o'clock office hour slot.
Another thing to mention that sometimes gets overlooked, remember that you can move items within your courses and you can export items across courses, like your tests and your rubrics. You can't copy them necessarily from course to course, but you can export those. Let you talk about rubrics a
I started building the rubrics in Blackboard in the same place. You'll find them under course tools as well. So if you go here to rubrics, once you build it for one course, which is right here, once you build it for one course, you can export it and import it into another course if it's, maybe a different section or a different time frame. Maybe you're teaching an 8 and a 12 week or a 16 and a 12 week. This makes grading easier, a lot easier, and it's like Summerlin said, the students have less to argue with you about once they have a rubric. So
Yeah, the points are there. Did you do it? Did you not? Did you do it correctly? Let's see. Oh, and announcements. Remember that you can pin announcements at the top that you want them to see every time they come in. That's something I have forgotten
How do you
about.
pin that?
Like this. That's a good question. You move it up to the top above that line,
you
and
move
then
it right above the state announcements.
Oh, okay.
so it will not get
Cool.
drowned in the stack of announcements in the
So
bottom.
that's like Moodle allows you to pin. I didn't know that Blackboard.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's nice because, you might have a reminder that your students need to see for like 2 weeks, and you might want to make other announcements, but this is the most important thing you want them to see. It doesn't fall down the list. All right, so organization of course material, we'll both kind of talk about this a little bit. I started after I looked at Summerlin's course, I started doing a very similar thing where I organize everything by week folders. Summerlin's a lot better than me. She puts the dates right there. I do not
I teach a lot of
because-
high school classes. That's
because I do not want to change it every semester necessarily. But I have gotten into this habit of creating a list. Essentially an action item list, what needs to be accomplished every week, and it's week 1. In your syllabus, it says week 1 is due at this date, so they can always go back and refer to it.
And one thing I do is I try to put everything for that week in that folder or a link to it in that folder. So rather than say go to the discussion board, I link directly to that week's discussion. The checkpoint, everything is in that folder so they can kind of knock those dominoes down. Something else I'll mention, like she said with the dates, you don't want to have to go in and change a lot of dates. If you are putting assignment files in your Blackboard site, don't put dates in those files. If you want to put a date, put it in the description here, just to save yourself some headache when you go back and try to remember what had dates and what didn't. That will certainly save a bit of time. And I guess I should probably, where should we skip to? Oh, and the checklist. The checklist is helpful for them. It's also helpful for me as an instructor. And in my seated classes, I do something similar. I keep a course blog in Blackboard, an instructor's blog. At the end of every class, I go in and do a quick entry of what topics we covered and what's due for the next class. And this is good for students who forget to write things down. If you're meeting once a week, it's easy to forget from one course to the next. But I use it as much as they do because it's hard for me to sometimes remember what all we covered, where we left off. Did I give them an extension on this? Did I say we had to do it? So it's also nice when you go back in the next semester to plan your course. You can go and see what you did and how you paced it and if you need to change anything's there. So the list is good for them. The list is good for us as well. And speaking of checklists, Amber passed out a awesome Blackboard checklist that she created to help you as you update your courses or if you copied from someone else's. Just some things to remember to update as you go through.
That we've both forgotten and still forget. And so we were like, this is, it helps us. So we thought it would help y'all too. So we'll go through the Grade Center.
Quick question before
Sure.
you. So that checklist you were talking about, that's under the description of the folder?
I put it on the front of the folder, so it's like when you see the folder in Blackboard, and then I put it inside the folder just so they don't have to click out, so they're in there working. So yeah, all of and I do mine weekly. I know some of y'all work in modules, whatever works. And that's just the way that I've done it. And I have to work very hard to be organized. So I try to put things everywhere, like put the reminders everywhere for all of us.
So go over the Grade Center. We're going to hit a number of topics in the Grade Center rather quickly. Where is it? It's all way up
It all
here.
got broken out.
All right, so Summerlin, I'll let you show. I'll talk about the aviso column and the sending reminders and stuff. So some of you I know use percentages. I use total points. Summerlin uses percentages, and either way, these are very helpful tips. the aviso column is important, of course, your weighted total column, because that reports out. And you can set the external grade, that weighted total, and you'll know that it's set if it has that green check mark. That means that it is a running total of the student's average, and that reports for different purposes. All their advisors can check that, so it's very helpful.
And to show you how to do that, you go to your weighted total and go to the drop-down menu and have set as external grade. But it should be the weighted total column. I just can't show you because mine's already set.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And then, Simone, you want to talk about the categories and the views and.
I love, especially this feature. If you go into manage and go to column organization, there are a few really great things you can do in here that some folks may not have been aware of. You can, let's say you want to change the category for some of your assignments. Like let's say I wanted to change my checkpoints to a new category for a new percentage of the grade. You can check all of those that you want to change. And you can go up here to change category to and pick out your category. This is also nice too, so like for discussion boards, you can go through and select all the discussion boards. Maybe you have those count under a separate grade column, not just discussion board. So that's a nice way to fix that. You can also adjust your column organization here. So if you want to change the order, you can move those around on the screen. Just make sure you click submit at the end, or otherwise you don't. Save that. I've goofed that more times than I care to admit. And another thing I love about this is I can do a quick scan of due date to make sure that I didn't miss updating a due date. I can scan down and see that everything's moved to 2018 or the month, what have you. Another way that you can do that to check your due dates is through the course calendar. I'll just mention that really quickly. You can select your assignments right here on the course calendar and update their dates. So you could go to, say, last August and move everything to the next place. So that's just a quick way. And it's a good double check. I did it today. I went through all last year and made sure I had moved everything that I needed to move.
So if you're copying a course from one semester to the next, that's nice because you can just go back a year or back a semester and change everything right there. The next thing is sending a reminder. So when I first started, we all know how important the orientation quiz is. It's just like we send out emails, we call people at work, we go bang on their doors. Whatever we need to do to get them to do the orientation quiz. So I found myself sending countless announcements and emails. So I found this trick in Blackboard. Basically, let's just say that you're on the orientation quiz and you're not sure who you want to send a reminder, but you don't want to go through and click everyone who has not submitted it. You click this arrow right here and you just hit send reminder. It will only send an email to the people who have not done it.
Yeah, I stumbled upon that this summer and it's real handy.
It is. It's very helpful. And it'll tell you like 2 people, this is going to 2 people, or this is going to 17. And that also helps you gauge like, what is happening in Lee County right now where there are 17 people who have not submitted something that is due in like 2 hours? So this has helped me, and it's a quick way to go through everything.
So then I think that takes us, you want to talk about smart views and attendance? That's more your jam.
Yep. So the smart views, you can create smart views if you like to look at things like, so I teach a video class that goes to 3 different campuses. So I throw them all together, but I need a smart view to see who's on what campus. And so I've created a smart view just for specific students. I've also done that when I run teamwork. So if I want to create a smart view for like one team, or if I want to create a smart view for each module, then you can do that, and you just would go to your manage and you go to your smart views. This also helps for attendance purposes.
And then just some things to remember when you're getting your course copies. If sometimes when we're teaching a course for the first time, we want to look at someone else's course, but we don't necessarily want that to be our course. You can always request that DE give you a resource copy. I know that's something that some people know about, some people don't. So they can make a course for you, and then you can kind of pick and choose what you want and export it into your course, or just have it there as a resource. And when you're having your courses copied from previous semesters or from other instructors, when you're making that request, you can ask DE to delete the announcements in a batch for you, which is really nice rather than doing it one at a time. Somehow I didn't know about that until last year, so I've been sitting there going, ding, ding, So I just wanted to mention that for anyone who didn't know. Yes,
I want to delete all mine because they're useful. I don't suppose there's any batch way to turn them off, is there?
not that I am aware of, but that would be a good question for them. They were in our last session, so we were able to tag them.
Can they? We don't know. Let's ask the experts. So, any other questions? Awesome. We all are going to stay put. We're going to rotate. And thank you all so much for coming. If you have any questions, you can find us both under the directory. You can find me under last name Thomas.
And as far as I know, I'm the only Summerlin working.
Yep. So Summerlin first name. No, don't put the two together. But if you look for Summerlin, you should be able to find Summerlin or Amber Thomas. Either one. Thank you all so much. Good luck this semester.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's cool. Hello, last and probably least. We are, not you, us. We're Trent Handhouse. Thanks. Ken Hull had to leave, so, and we apologize for the lightning speed with which we're doing some of this, but we recognize that we are super late. And I was once an adjunct, actually 15 years ago, I was an adjunct here, and I understand that adjunct time is precious. So Ken Hull's not here. I'm Mark Hall. If you have not figured it out yet, this is John Matthews. I'm Provost of Chatham County, which John was saying that we take care of everyone's stuff when they don't want to take care of it. But we're actually the head administrators in our counties. That's who we are. So Ken Hull is the Vice President of Student Services. He is the Chief Disciplinary Officer at this college. When John and I assumed these roles, he took us aside and said, "You are me in your county." So we are the Chief Discipline Officers in our county. If there's something that ends up getting out where we need advice or some information about how to do things, Ken comes in and helps out. Sometimes he meets with us, he'll meet with students with us. Sometimes we do a lot of it on our own. So I say all that to say that if anything happens discipline-wise, we are ultimately the person who's going to take care of it in our respective counties. What we're going to talk about tonight is the title is a little bit it's classroom management through student code of conduct. We're going to focus more on those things that you kind of need to report and move on. But I do encourage you to learn from the full-time faculty members in your department or other adjuncts who have experience, or especially your lead instructors and your department chairs, about what's right, how are things handled in your particular areas. But for example, let's say that Phoebe here is talking, it just keeps on fiddling her phone, she's distracting Kelly there. And what I do, I used to do this when I taught English, I just kind of come over and stand near Phoebe. And then Phoebe would figure out, Instructor Hall is irritated by me using my phone, I need to put it up because I'm being a jerk. And then I just kind of casually walk away and sort of, those are some of the simple techniques, especially those people who've been teaching for a long time can figure out. Or if like Danny back there, I'm talking about Twain and he wants to talk about biology, and I'm like, dude, I'm not going to be like, we're not talking about biology here, because that's going to be an offense, that's going to be an affront to him, right? Like, that's a really great point you made about molecular biology. So Kelly, what did you really think about Twain, this conversation about that, about humor? Just acknowledge it and move on. Those are like the simple things. And it's just basically about being a good person and treating people, acknowledging that people exist, and then kind of trying to deflect and so forth. And those sort of things, those little things that can grow into big things if you let them fester, right? So I never get on Phoebe about her phone use, right? If I never go over there and she starts actually even getting to the point where she's playing games, and then the people behind her are looking over at her watching Netflix. Like that's a problem that I let get out of hand, right? So I don't want to let that get out of hand. I got to try to take care of that sooner than later. And I can also take the tactic like maybe she didn't pick up. She kind of picked up on it, but she didn't really pick up on it. She took her phone out later on, and phones are like a minor thing. In all honesty, they're minor compared to what we're going to talk about later. I can talk to her after class. I go, hey Phoebe, can you stay for a second? Those are really simple, low-hanging fruit things. But that's just kind of the nutshell of that. But we really want to talk about other things.
Yeah, there are patent violations of the code of conduct, and when you run a classroom, whether it's online or whether it's seated, you are the primary enforcement officer of that code while your students are in the class. So I always tell people, if they're new to the college, whether they're students or faculty, go grab a student handbook. It's a little treasure trove of information regarding college policies, a lot of academic policies. It also includes the student code of conduct. And beyond student code of conduct, it articulates student rights and responsibilities. It includes the kinds of sanctions that might be issued for a violation of the code of conduct. And it includes due process if a student is sanctioned in a very strong way for a code of conduct violation. And as Mark said, different programs have sometimes additional things that they add to that, expectations, codes of conduct, regulations, nursing, dental hygiene, vet med. Usually the uniform programs have things that even go above and beyond this. So you're both enforcing the program's guidelines and the college guidelines. So where do you find this? There's literally thousands of them around. Almost at every reception desk you'll find these. Student services, anywhere, at any main campus you will find these. They're also online. There's a digital version you can download if you want. In the current handbook, the code of conduct actually starts on page 66. And one of the things that you need to do as you're reading this, it's not very long, but there are differences sometimes between code of conduct violations and some malbehaviors. You might have a student that sits in the back of class, head up at the ceiling, and does something like this. Now, no one else is noticing this except for you. They're not really disrupting instruction or learning, but there's something going on that might be a little deeply rooted. And if you're concerned for that student based on what you're observing, you can talk to them a little bit at breaks. I noticed you kind of sit in the back and you're rolling your head around and you look like you're about to pass. Everything okay? If you feel that the malbehavior you're seeing, whether it's maybe evidence of a cutter, someone cuts himself or abuses himself, or someone that looks like they've been under some kind of abuse, but their appearance is not inherently distracting in the classroom, but it's still worrisome, those are the kinds of things that could be referrals to what's called the behavioral assessment team. That's a cross-functional, cross-divisional, kind of ad hoc committee of college folks who take referrals from faculty and staff about particular situations that might not be code of conduct violations, but might be concerning for the student's well-being, safety, or the well-being, safety of others around them. And so this committee takes these referrals under consult. We discuss them either in person or electronically, and we as a team try to reach consensus on what we think the BP, student Ken Oil, should do about that situation. And it can be a number of things. It could be referring the student for mental health services. It could be referring the student to a shelter for battered persons. It could be a number of different things. It could be referral to a food pantry. If we found the student hasn't eaten in 3 weeks because they don't have any food. There can be a number of different responses, but those might by themselves not have anything to do with code of conduct. You still have an ethical obligation to be observant of what's going on in your classroom and react in what you think is the right way. Don't worry about whether or not you think it passes muster for the BAT. Let us BAT members worry about that. And we may re-engage you to say, we need you to keep observing and keeping us apprised of what you're seeing. This is what we're doing now. Now, that's one thing. A code of conduct violation, as Mark said, could be where, let's say Phoebe is on her cell phone. Mark's tried the soft power approach of kind of leaning over here and giving her the signal that she should get off her cell phone. So he tries that. And at the same class meeting, she gets back on her phone, and this time it's making noises, and everyone's looking at it. At that moment, he has the authority to say, if it's appropriate, Phoebe, need you to grab your stuff. She gets her stuff, leave the classroom very quietly, politely, and say, hey, I gave you the signal not to use your cell phone. Maybe even giving you a verbal warning, hey, put the cell phone away. And then you kept doing it, so we're done for today. We'll be back in touch in some fashion before you come back to this class. And that's why, when you have any incident like that, even something seemingly that mundane or benign, you need to email or communicate with your direct report, either your lead instructor or your department chair, and if it's in Chatham, Dr. Hall, if it's in Lee County, VP Hoyle, if it's in Harnett County, me. Okay? The reason you keep us in that loop is it is possible that that student is engaging in that bad behavior in multiple classes. You don't know that, but we might be aware of it. And in fact, we may have told the student earlier that day, you keep disrupting your classes. I'm putting you on probation. The next time you do this, you're out. You're gone. I'm suspending you for a year. Don't do it again. And yet they show up that night. What do? They do it. So you have to keep us in the loop. Online, where this can occur, is sometimes students will engage in malbehavior through how they interact with others in an unprofessional way, a bullying way. You find out from a fellow student that if they say a student in the class is emailing them, intimidating them, using not the best language. They're trying to pit students against each other in the class. That's a similar type of malbehavior, and it's disruptive in the online environment. You have to let us know that too.
I have another
Yes.
one. I've been teaching online a long time.
Okay?
I've actually, I'm not gonna name the school, but I've gotten reasons why they're posting late, and some of them I can't even repeat here. That's how shocked I was to get the,
Wait, just want to.
in other words, they're giving me an excuse as to why they posted late. You wouldn't believe some of the
Now,
things.
that's an academic issue.
So what?
No, it's
So-
like things in their life that have
Oh,
happened.
yeah.
I can't even repeat it.
So this is a good place to kind of, so there's two things going on there, right? And you feel free to jump in. And I want to first, not to interject levity, thank you for being a good sport. We picked on you a lot. We like her. She's a great chemistry teacher. So, well, we're going to start picking on Tanya now. If there's, like, I taught for like a decade. Sometimes some of that stuff is legitimate, some of the stuff is not.
Right.
That's why we have here the behavioral assessment team. So there's two things going on there. That if they're saying something that is disconcerting, behavioral and mental health wise, like that, you can take that information and send it to the bad team. That what Heather said about the Carolina Cares, that is, if I remember I'm wrong, but that's not just for unwanted like sexual advances and things, but that's also for this sort of like things that you're like, this isn't right? Or there's something going on here, and I'm
It's like
not
too much
equipped.
information.
Well, that's also something that that's sometimes a different aspect. On the academic side of that, you feel free to, if they don't do their discussion boards on time, that's your academic policy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I understand
So
that, but I'm
but
just
if the behaviors, if they're telling you something,
really inappropriate.
I want to empower all instructors. Feel free just to report it. I was an English guy. I'm not equipped to counsel people. In fact, I'd be the horrible counsel in the world because eventually some people would get over it, and that's why I want to get paid. And I admit that honestly, like it's just how I am, right? So, you're there to teach. Some of us have bigger hearts and more compassion than I am, and they're going to try to do things. But there's a point to where you're doing way more mental health stuff than teaching. And you got to be the teacher.
That's actually not on your position.
It's not. So make sure, hand that off to some. We have people. So I'm kind of, I'm just who I am, and I'm on the team. But there's also some people who have worked in the mental health field that are on the team, and it's cross-sectional across all three county services. So it's not just 3 executives making decisions. There's lots of other people on this group, and you don't have to handle that on your own. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So feel free to pass this sort of stuff off. So sorry to interject there. And now I've lost track of where we were.
So what do you think you do if it's not a cell phone or chatter in the corner from these two guys that can't shut up, and it's not someone rattling paper with Cheetos and stuff like that? Those are disruptions, right? Disruption of instruction is going to be the predominant issue with code of conduct that you find, more than any other. It's going to be that one. People come in, they don't know how to behave in class, and you got to figure out a way to shut that down in the most logical and emotionally detached way possible and just get it settled. But it is not uncommon in a semester at 16 weeks for someone, somewhere on one of our campuses, to pass out from their chair and just fall out. Wow. But what do you think you do when that happens in your classroom? Call 911. Okay, correct. What do you do? Who do you communicate with immediately after calling 911? Campus security. You have to get up campus security because now Harding main campus is 4 buildings. You really have to try hard to get lost on that campus. This campus, not by the nature of just the number of buildings, but you go around by Vet Med when back in those days, and it was easy to get lost over there. The security officers can help guide the ambulance in if they know one's coming. So you have to get in touch with them. So how do you know how to contact? Well, 911's easy. Everybody knows how to call 911. But we actually have a document that's published on the college intranet. If you don't know how to access the intranet, contact your direct report, your lead instructor, your chair, your director, whoever is helping you with your contract and your syllabus. Ask them for access to the intranet. And you on the intranet can find something called the Emergency Procedures Manual, and it's specific for each county. There's 3 different ones, Chatham, Lee, Army. You want to find the one that's relevant to your county, and it's about 20 pages or so, each of those documents. And it goes over what to do in case of, what to do in case of, who to contact, who to notify, what's the phone number. So find that for your campus and look for things like, what's the security phone number? Or Harnett, Maine, where my office is, I know it out 8813. I only have to think about 8813. On my cell phone, it's programmed. So I do a keyword search on security, I get to SEC, and it automatically pops up Security Harnett, Maine campus. I hit it and I can dial it, and it's set up in those sites for it to go to the desk phone. If the security officer is on rounds, it automatically call forwards to their cell phone. But that's the way you get up with them. So it's critical that you call 911 when there's a medical emergency or a perceived threat to someone's safety, then call the security officer, let them know. There are lockdown procedures articulated in that emergency procedures manual, so go there to find out how you do that. Every campus might have a slight tweak to it because the door hardware might be different. The law enforcement agencies are obviously different in each county. But anyway, that's one of those things where it's not pleasure reading. This is not what you do on a Sunday afternoon with a mint julep. But you do need to at least refer to it at some point to know how you're going to contact this people. The last thing you need to be doing when someone is on your floor, apparently when you think might be dying, is, well, let me go look this up. No, you need to have it at the ready. So I always encourage people, make it available close enough to you so you can immediately get to it. And the most important thing in that kind of crisis, 911 security. I've even had faculty successfully tell a student, you go find security. And if it's a small campus like Harnett, Maine, or if it's Siler City Center, where it's just one building, or Harnett Health Sciences Center, which is one building, that's pretty easy to do because you pass by security when you walk into the building. But big campuses that might be a little more difficult, that's why it's important to have a phone. Okay.
So it came up in one of the other groups, so we're going to let you guys ask a question in a second, but the question was, if the person passes out and wakes back up, do we call it? Yes. It is not your office. You're not, some of you guys might actually be medically trained, but we don't do that. If they pass, they lose consciousness, you call them. Even if they wake up, don't feel bad about it. They have the right to deny ambulatory services, and that is not on you, it's not on the college, it's on them. So you always call them. End of story. There's not really a thought process about it. Loses consciousness, I'm calling. They could wake up 10 seconds later. You're going to call paid external medical professionals, determine what the situation is. Does that make sense? The other thing, in higher education, we're across the board, not just community colleges where you have open doors, but across the board, there are, and I preface this by saying I might have the terminology incorrect, Matt knows better than I do, but cognitively atypical people, students come through our doors who can perform at this level, and they do, but sometimes they have different behaviors. So it's best not to assume anything, but just kind of to observe and maybe ask the right people at the college and make a Sherman, is there anything on this person, you know anything about this person, before any sort of inappropriate reaction to that particular student's behavior occurs. Does that make sense? And so that's not something also that you don't have to navigate that either. If you see something and it's you're not quite sure if there's something going on, ask someone else. Does that make sense? That's all I was going to say.
All right, what scenarios do you think of, or what questions might you have regarding managing your classroom in a safe and secure way and enforcing, at least at the front line, the code of conduct?
Let me ask one quiz question real quick. So you have to dismiss a student from your class for whatever student code of conduct. After you do that, who are you going to tell? Direct report. Who else? The provost if it's in that county, and the security, right?
Or Ken Boyle, VP, if it's in
serious VP of Student Services. So it's very important to make sure that you tell your direct reports so they don't get caught off guard. We don't like to catch anyone off guard. We like to all kind of know, right? It's just the easiest way to do this: notify everyone you're supposed to notify at one time. So notify your direct report, your departmentary lead instructor, notify the appropriate chief disciplinary officer, and then notify security on your campus. Just all in one email at one time. And if it's the case where the person leaves and it's fine, do it later on that day, or do it when class is finished, but notify those 3 groups so that we all have the information at one time. We can start coordinating a reaction if a reaction is needed.
And
Sorry.
We are, amongst the 3 of us, Hoyle, Hall, and me, know enough about the division of labor at the college to know that if the student being reported is a vet med student, we're going to go through Dr. Browning as well as Ken Boyle to talk about whatever sanctions are appropriate. If it's cosmetology, we're going to go through Susan Johnson. These program directors of uniform programs cannot be left out of the loop, so you're telling them, but we're certainly not going to issue a sanction without consulting them as well. And again, sometimes their standards are like way up here. You can't blow your nose the wrong direction.
So what questions do you have?
I just wanted to say, I've only had a handful of incidents, and they've been well handled here.
Thank you.
I've been very satisfied.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate that. Anybody else have any questions or curiosities, or what do we do in this situation?
Do we have an active shooter policy?
There is, go ahead. In terms of a procedure, yeah, it's in the emergency procedures. Go to there and you'll find it. We've actually had active shooter drills now on all 3 main campuses the last 3 years. And I will tell you that emergency management in each county continues to tweak the protocol year to year. And if we're lucky, they notify us of what they've tweaked and what they expect us to do. I just met with the folks in Harnett last week. So when I say tweak, it's kind of like the green card, red card. We're not using this one anymore. No, now we're using that one. So our manual is what we're going to go by. If you go by the emergency procedures manual, that's where we're expecting you to do. It's that simple. Just do that.
The short of it is I personally think the best option is to hide. It does make me coward, it makes me try to keep all my students safe. You don't notify anyone about the door, you lock the door, you hide. You barricade the door to sit. And this is official documents. It says it's hide, run, if like you're in between classes or something like that, run as far away as possible and then hide. The other one is to fight, and that is a personal choice. And I'm not even going to try to discuss that.
Last resort.
Last resort. And that's really like if someone bursts in this door right now, I'm not going to let them take out Tanya. I'm going to run and try to knock the person down because they've already got to the door. But that's just me. That makes sense to me.
I'm going to get.
But when they see John Allen's tie, they'll run anyway.
I know. Don't work near that dude. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, ask people later. Yep.
Okay, we're not leaving anything. Boom. Go. All right.
John, you have a moment?
You can walk with me. Okay, I'm parking from the site. So we're actually parking.
So is the map for students?